Let's learn about the last collection in Apex, and this is called map. Similar to list and set, a map can also store the collection of data, but it stores the data in a key value pair. Let's try to understand it with the help of an example. So let's say you teach a class and you want to store the roll numbers and the names of all your students. So what you will do, you will write their roll numbers, and with respect to each and every roll number, you will also write the student name. The roll numbers of students cannot be duplicate as we all know it, but the names can be duplicate. And that's what map is all about. It has keys and it has values. The keys cannot have duplicates like set, where the values can have duplicates like list. So in this example, the roll numbers are keys, where the student names are values. To call out a student name, first you need to know their roll number and then only you can look for the student name, right? And the same thing happens with map as well. To access the value, you need to get the value by a key. So let's say if you want to access the item bill or the student bill, then you need to access bill through his roll number. Like set, map also doesn't use indexes. It only uses the keys and values. So you cannot access an item by its index. You can access the item by its keys. Let's see a map example, how you declare and initialize a map. So here I'm declaring a map named as class 2020, and it's going to store the integers and a string. What? Why did we write integer first and string later? So the first data type that you are going to mention in your map declaration will be the data type of keys. And the second data type that you are going to mention will be the data type of values. So here for our class 2020, we want to make the roll numbers as keys and student name as values because student name can be duplicate and map keys needs to be unique like set. So that's why we are declaring a map of integer and string where integers will be our keys and strings will be our values. Now let's go back to our developer console and let's try a few examples there. So first, let's declare a map variable and initialize our map instance. This map will have integer as keys and string as values. And let's call it as class 2020. Then we need to use our new keyword to initialize the new map. So this is a plain declaration and initialization of map. Remember, if you remove this line here, your map will be null like all the other variables in Apex. But if you use the new keyword, your map will not be null, it will be blank. Now in this map, first let's add a student. And I'm going to put a comment here as add a new student or item. And to add a new item in a map, you need to use the put method. In the set and list, we use the add method to add a new item to our set or list. But in the map, the method name is put. So let's use our map variable. And then we need to use the put method. And here, first you need to give the key. So let's give some random roll number. And then the student name, which should be a string. And to define a string in Apex, you need to use single quotes. So that's it. This is how you add an item in a map. Now let's print our map. So for that, let's use our debug statement. And let's give our map variable inside this debug statement. And let's execute our code. Go to debug logs, and here we see there is a key in map which is 11008890, and this key holds a value as Manish. Now let's add few more items in our map, and this time let's change the roll number to something else. And let's print our map again. And I'm going to add one more item in my map, and this time I'm going to use a duplicate value but a unique key. And then let's add one more item where I'm going to use the duplicate key, maybe like 94 itself, and the unique value. Let's try to give it something as Skywalker. Yeah. So what do you think should happen? Our map should have these four items because these are the unique values and unique keys. Then our map will also have the item that we have defined on line number 14. Let's actually try to put the debug statement between line number 14 and 15. So by line number 15, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items in our map with a duplicate value as Bill, but all unique keys. But when line number 16 will execute, what it's going to do, it's going to override the value on this key since map doesn't accept the duplicate keys. So the value Skywalker will replace the value Bill. Let's print this again here and let's execute our code. So we have got our four items here in our second debug statement. Then in our third debug statement, we have got duplicate value, but the keys were unique. And in our last debug statement, the value Skywalker replaced the value Bill. Now let's go back to our anonymous window and let's try a few more methods. Let me put a comment here. I'm going to call it update or override value. Now let's try to access an item from the map. So I want to know the name of the student who has the roll number as 8892. For that, we have a method called get on the map class, and let's try to see the uses of the get method. So I'm going to use my map variable, then get method, and this get method accepts a key. So our key or the roll number is 8892. So let's pass this, and this get method is going to return the value, which is Rick. So we can directly print that in our debug statement. Let's do that. Now let's say Bill has unenrolled from my class. So I do not need to keep his record, right? I can remove a value from a map using the remove method like we did in the list and the set class. So let's comment here, remove an item from map. And for that, we are going to use the remove method. And this remove method also accepts the key. So let's pass Bill's roll number here and this item will be removed. Let's print our map after that. Now let's say you want to get all the keys from the map. For that you can use a method called keys and this will return a set. So let's get all the keys. The underlying collection or data structure of map keys is set because it shares the same property, like it doesn't keep duplicate values and it's also unordered. So that's why when you get all the keys, it returns a set. And to get the keys, you simply use a method called keys. And you can assign the return value of keys method to a set. And since we are using integer as our keys, so this will be a set of integer. And let's call it roll numbers. Where is n? there is something wrong with the N key on my keyboard. Please excuse me for that. Sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, so we have got our roll numbers and we can simply print those using our debug statement. Or we could directly put this class 2020.keys inside our debug statement like this as well. Both ways are fine. It's up to you how you want to write your code. Now, similar to keys, you can also get all the values from the map, and the values are stored as a list in map. So this time the return type will be the list. So let's comment here. And to get the values, you simply need to use a method called values. Instead of keys, just type in values here. And it returns a list of the student names, which is a string. So we can store it in a list variable, list of string, and let's call it students. So this is how you can store the return value of this values method inside a list. Again, you could write the class 2020.values directly within the debug statement. So what else? Yeah, you can also check if a map has a key or not. So like the way we did in our set class, where we checked if a set contains a value or not using the contains method. In map, we have a method called contains key. Check if map has the key. And here simply use our variable and the method name is contains key. And here you need to pass the key that you want to check. Maybe like this one. And this is going to return either true or false. So I'm directly going to print in my debug statement. Now let's also try a key that we have removed. So here on line number 25, we have removed this key from the map. So let's try to get this key now and see what it returns. This should return false because the map doesn't have this key anymore. All right, a lot of methods, and now let's try to execute our code. Hopefully we shouldn't get any error. Oh, we did get an error on line number 29, and it says it doesn't recognize the method keys. Let's see on line number 29. Okay, keys is not a method in map, it is key set, which returns a set of keys of map. Now let's give it another try. And again we have got an error, and this time it's a spelling mistake on line number 37 because I have missed N here. As I said, there is something wrong with the N key on my keyboard. I'll have it replaced soon, guys. Please excuse me. Okay, now it got executed, and now let's try to see our output. So here we have got all our debug logs till line number 29, where Skywalker replaced the value Bill. Then we have tried to access an item by the key 8892 and it returned the value Rick. So if we try to compare the output with the code, this is what we have done here on line number 22. So we have used the get method to get the student name using the roll number. Then on line number 26, we have removed an item from the map and it should not have the value Bill. Let's see if that's the case. Yeah, it doesn't have the value Bill. Then we have got all the keys of map, and later we have got all the values of the map. Then we have tried to check a key if the map contains that key or not, which returned true. And in the end, we tried with the invalid key, which was deleted before. That's why this method returned false. So lot of learning in last three videos, and you need to build solid knowledge on Apex collections because this is what you will be doing on your everyday job. So practice a lot on the collection variables